Kale had never intended to get involved with someone from another world, not in any personal sense. He had spent most of his life working as a maintenance engineer aboard the research station EOS Prime, orbiting the neon blue gas giant Durian. Humans were still a minority across interstellar stations, always struggling to find their place among diverse alien civilizations. Kale's life had been quiet, disciplined, and predictable until her arrival. Her name was Lysira. She belonged to the Althian species, known for their fluid skin that shimmered with shifting colors whenever they felt emotion. Her presence on the station was meant to be temporary, just a scientific liaison observing human technology, but fate rarely followed schedules. Kale first saw her in the docking bay, bent gracefully over an exposed conduit panel. She moved with liquid precision, her body narrowing and bending in ways no human could. Her skin flashed stripes of violet and teal as she concentrated. When she noticed him watching, she gave a brief, faint smile. Just a moment, but enough to send warmth into his chest. Soon after, Kale was assigned to assist her. His first day in her lab was awkward and cautious. Althians were known to react unpredictably to direct human touch, so Kale kept his distance. Unfortunately, the lab was narrow, cluttered, and full of delicate equipment. Accidents were inevitable. It happened during an adjustment of a containment field. Kale reached for a panel, misjudged his angle, and his hand brushed lightly against Lysira's side. He froze, mortified. But instead of being offended, Lysira turned toward him with a soft glow pulsing beneath her skin, and whispered, "I like that, human. Do it again." Kale stammered an apology, confused and red-faced. She laughed, a light shimmering sound that echoed off the lab walls. "That is why I said it. Because it was unintentional." From that moment, their dynamic changed. What began as cautious cooperation turned into playful tension. Kale found himself testing the boundaries, brushing past her in tight corridors, handing her tools so their fingers touched, leaning close during calibrations. Every time, Lysira responded with amusement, interest, or a teasing flicker of color. "Careless yet bold," she commented once, after he bumped her arm. "I like this about you." Weeks passed, and Kale learned Lysira wasn't just teasing. She was studying him, studying humans through him. She asked endless questions about human emotions, fears, impulses, and humor. "You humans are fascinating," she said one evening, while repairing a "You feel desire and guilt, fear and courage, all tangled together. You act on instinct and conscience at the same time. It is curious." Kale laughed. "And Althians don't. We feel," she said, "but differently." This, she brushed her glowing fingers near his hand, "helps me understand." Their closeness deepened until an emergency forced their connection into something undeniable. A containment breach sent plasma surging through the lower decks. Alarms screamed as panels burst into sparks. Kale and Lysira raced through the chaos together. At one point, he grabbed her arm to pull her under a vent, just as plasma erupted overhead. She caught his wrist, her skin glowing hot teal. "Careful, human," she teased breathlessly. "Do it again, and I will hold you accountable." Even in danger, she was testing him, pushing him, trusting him. Together, they stabilized the containment field, saving half the station. When it was over, she stood close, her colors bright with emotion. "You work well under pressure," she whispered. "I am impressed, more than I expected." After that night, something between them shifted permanently. Lysira began spending more time in his quarters under the excuse of studying human engineering habits. Kale knew better. Their touches became intentional, their conversations deeper, their silences comfortable. One evening, when Kale brushed her fingers while passing her a tool, she froze, then smiled with soft glowing warmth. "I like that, human. Do it again." This time he did, lowly, deliberately. Months passed, and their unspoken relationship became the talk of EOS Prime. Some envied them, Others warned about interspecies protocol, but neither cared. They worked side by side, lived side by side, and slowly began weaving their lives together. Lysira taught him Althian philosophy, energy weave manipulation, and how to read the subtle emotional colors rippling across her skin. Kale showed her human humor, engineering tricks, and the strange comfort of sharing a meal with someone who mattered. One quiet night, with Dorian's twin moons glowing outside the observation deck, Kale finally admitted Lysira, "I never expected to feel this way. Not about anyone, not about someone from another world." She rested her glowing palm against his chest. "Feelings do not care about species, Kale. You have shown courage and patience. You allowed me to connect without fear. That is rare." He smiled. "So those accidental touches weren't accidents." She stepped closer, glowing softly. "Perhaps not, and perhaps I am very glad of it." Kale intertwined his fingers with hers. She didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned into him, her skin warm and radiant. "You are brave," she whispered, "and I am yours if you wish." Kale's voice trembled. "I do, not for a night, for everything we can have." Lysira's laughter was gentle, musical. "Then it shall be so, human, not by accident, by choice." From that day forward, they became inseparable partners in work, in curiosity, and in something deeper than either of them could name. Their story spread across the station, the human and the Althian, whose bond began with an accidental touch and grew into something extraordinary. In the quietest moments, Kale would brush her hand again, deliberately. Her skin would glow brighter, and she would whisper with that familiar, teasing warmth, "Do it again, human." And he always did. In the endless silence of space, among stars and alien worlds, Kale learned that the biggest connections often begin with the smallest touch, and when nurtured with trust and courage, they can last a lifetime. Months had passed since Kale and Lysira had chosen each other, yet the universe around them seemed more unpredictable than ever. EOS Prime was entering a new phase of expansion, drawing attention from factions across the Galactic Council. With more alien species arriving daily, tensions were rising, and security protocols tightened. Kale and Lysira found themselves navigating not just their own growing bond, but the politics and dangers surrounding the station. One morning, as Kale tightened an energy stabilizer, Lysira stood beside him, her skin glowing in soft shades of gold. "You are unfocused today," she observed gently. Kale wiped sweat from his forehead. "Just tired," he said. "The council inspection is coming up, and we're behind on repairs." Lysira tilted her head, her colors shifting to curious teal. "Humans hide their worries behind excuses, but I can read you now. Something else troubles you." Kale sighed. "The inspectors are strict. If they find out that we're together, there might be consequences." Lysira stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I do not fear consequences." Kale laughed quietly. "Of course you don't." She brushed her glowing fingers along his wrist, sending a warm ripple through him. "You should not fear it either. What we have is chosen, and I do not intend to abandon what I choose." Her words gave him strength, but the coming days only grew more complicated. The council ship arrived sleek, metallic, filled with dignitaries who viewed humans as impulsive creatures and Althians as unpredictable anomalies. Kale and Lysira kept their distance in public, but even then, the inspectors' eyes lingered suspiciously whenever they worked together. During one inspection, High Chancellor Draven, a rigid, cold-skinned Vathrian, paused behind them as they examined a grav core. "Human," he said sharply, "your proximity to the Althian liaison seems excessive." Kale stiffened. Lysira's colors dimmed to protective blue. "We are partners in research," she replied calmly. "Efficiency requires cooperation." Draven narrowed his eyes. "Cooperation is acceptable. Attachment is not." Lysira's colors flashed anger. Kale gently brushed her arms, subtle, reassuring. She glanced at him, and her skin softened back to calm teal. Draven walked away, unimpressed, but the message was clear. Someone was watching them closely. That night, Kale sat with her on a small maintenance balcony overlooking the swirling clouds of Durian. Stars glimmered beyond the station's glass panels. Lysira rested beside him, letting her colors blend with the shifting light. "They want to separate us," Kale whispered. Lysira leaned into him. "Let them try." He looked at her glowing form. "You're not afraid of anything, are you?" "I fear only one thing," she said softly. Kale blinked. "What?" "Losing what I chose." Her words hit him deeper than he expected. He rested his forehead against hers, their breaths mixing. But the galaxy had its own plans. 2 days later, a massive energy spike hit the station. Alerts blared. Panels burst into flame. An unknown ship had fired a destabilizer pulse at EOS Prime, causing power fluctuations across multiple decks. Kale and Lysira raced to the core sector. Sparks shot through the corridors. Gravity flickered. The station trembled like a wounded beast. "Someone targeted us," Kale shouted over the alarms. Lysira scanned the energy patterns, her skin reflecting erratic colors. "Not targeted, warned. Someone wants the council gone." Then the gravcore collapsed into a partial overload. If it detonated, the entire station would be destroyed. Lysira grabbed Kale's hand. "Come." They rushed into the unstable chamber, where luminous energy crackled chaotically. Kale slid under a console, tools flying from his belt. Lysira stood beside the core, absorbing stray energy into her own body to stabilize the room. "Lysira, stop," he yelled. "That much energy could hurt you." "I am not fragile," she said, forcing her glowing skin to thicken into protective layers. But he could see the strain, her colors flickering dangerously. Kale worked feverishly, rerouting circuits, patching plasma channels, forcing the core into controlled flux. The heat was unbearable. The alarms deafening. Lysira suddenly stumbled, her glow dimming. Kale crawled out from the console and caught her before she fell. "Lysira." She looked up at him weakly, colors flickering. "Human, you must finish it. Now." "Not without you," he said, voice cracking. "I'm not leaving you." Lysira touched his cheek with trembling fingers. "You once said, accidental touches changed everything." Kale held her closer. "This wasn't an accident. And neither is this." Summoning every ounce of strength he had, he lifted her against his chest and dragged her toward the output control. Holding her with one arm, he used his free hand to slam the stabilizer rod into place. The core snapped into equilibrium. The roaring ceased. Light steadied. The station stopped shaking. They collapsed together on the floor, breathing heavily. Lysira's colors slowly returned to calm shades of violet and gold. She looked at him, eyes soft. "You risked your life, foolish human." Kale smiled weakly. "Careless yet bold, right?" Lysira laughed gently, the soft musical sound he adored. "Yes, and I like that very much." When the council finally regained control of the station systems, they discovered Kale and Lysira had saved EOS Prime from total destruction. Dravan approached them later, silent, rigid, but visibly conflicted. "Your cooperation saved this station," he admitted bitterly. Lysira straightened, her colors firm. "Our partnership is strength, not weakness." Draven exhaled slowly. "Very well. Your relationship, whatever it is, will not be questioned further. The council will not interfere." Kale stared in shock. Lysira squeezed his hand discreetly. That night, as the station drifted quietly around Durian, Kale and Lysira stood on the observation deck, the aftermath finally calming. Kale brushed her hand gently. She glowed brightly, her colors warm and alive. "Do it again, human," she whispered. He did. And in that moment, Kale knew whatever challenges awaited them in the galaxy. Whatever dangers approached the station, He and Lysira would face them together, not by accident, not by chance, but by choice, always.